Welcome, everyone, to the Secret of Oneness. I know that you all know me because we're one. For those of you who are still asleep, my name is Stephen. And this topic tonight we're going to talk about is called From Doubt to Manifestation, the true meaning of fully persuaded. So let's get started with a Neville Goddard quote as usual. I have here, if there were not a deep-seated awareness that which you hope for had substance and was possible of attainment, it would be impossible to assume the consciousness of being or having it. And so I kind of broke that down a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more clear. And what I have here is if you did not have the deep seated belief that it was possible, it would be impossible to obtain. So that goes right back to belief. It goes back to being persuaded or believing or knowing. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about how you can go from doubt to just manifesting anything that you desire, okay? And the true meaning of what fully persuaded means in scripture and what does that look like. You're going to find that this is extremely powerful and that you're going to know more about who you are and your identity as Christ or as the awareness within, okay? So let's start off with Romans 4:21. And it says, and being fully assured that what God had promised, he was also able to perform. Let me read that again. And being fully assured that what God had promised, he was able also to perform. So what it's saying here is that whatever God promises, he's able to perform it. There's no questions. There's no doubt. Okay. But I broke some of these words apart as usual in the Greek here. And so let's look at having been fully assured. And in some scriptures it says fully persuaded. Sometimes it says assured. It just depends on the context. But in the original Greek, what I looked up, it says having been fully assured. And that's Greek number 4135. And it's often translated giving full assurance. But it properly means bearing or wearing the work of God to the fullest extent. Okay? That is to the full capacity of the individual believer who is fully persuaded by him. All right? The work of God to the fullest extent. That means as far as you can believe, right? So the next one I have here is he had promised, and that's Greek 1861, and it's epaggellomai, and it's 1909, and it means on or fitting, and it intensifies the word announce. And I know we've talked about promises before many times, but it's basically an announcement of what's fitting in that proper moment. And it means to properly to declare a promise that is fitting. So obviously, if you wanted an SP and you wanted that relationship, you wouldn't be declaring a promise of finances, right? Because that would be the fitting promise to declare, right? So let's move on to the next word here, and it means able. And this I found very interesting because when you read certain things, you say, oh, well, God is able, or he's able to pick up those bricks, or you don't really realize the understanding or the underlying description of what the actual word means. So the word able is 1415, and it means describing what is made possible because of the power or the ability exerted by the subject. It's preeminently ability or power in something. So think about it, when you're picking up a brick, you're exerting power by the subject, which is you. You are exerting power and ability to pick that up, or it's power in something. So that's really crazy how when you read these at the root level or the Greek level, what these things break down to and how it gives you a completely different picture. And the word to do means to act, to cause, or to work. And that's number 4160 in Greek. So this scripture, let me read it again, and I'm going to give you my kind of how I wrote it. And being fully assured that what God had promised, he was able also to perform. So what I wrote here, based on that breakdown, is giving full assurance that what is announced by the subject has the power to cause it to be, which means giving full assurance to the announcement that whatever you are announcing, whatever you are declaring, you have the power to cause it to be because you are one with God. That's the secret of oneness. We talk about it all the time. But oneness, whatever God is speaking, he's able to preform it. And because you're one, whatever you are declaring, the power is in the word. The power is in you speaking and declaring it. That's where the power is. That's where it's able. Okay? So let's move into the next scripture here, and it's Hebrews 11:11. And for those of you who like the numbers or the angel numbers or whatever you want to call it, the 11:11, this is for you. By faith, Sarah, even though she was barren and beyond the proper age, was enabled to conceive a child because she considered him faithful who had promised. Now, I'm not going to get into the beginning of that because that's not relevant to what we're talking about. But it's basically saying, Sarah, it was impossible for her to have a child. She was barren beyond the proper age to even have kids, right? She wasn't even able to have kids. But she considered him faithful who had promised. So think of what Sarah was going through, that barrenness and being past the proper age, that those are circumstances that you see on a daily basis in the situation that you're in. You're not able to pay the rent. You don't have your SP home. You don't have the finances to pay your bills. You may not have the health right now that you're wanting. Maybe you have a sickness or a disease that you're dealing with. Those are all circumstances. Even Sarah here, it says, even though she was barren. So that's kind of a disease or a sickness because she was barren. She couldn't even have children. And she was even beyond the proper age. So she had multiple circumstances going on here. And it says she was enabled to conceive a child because of what she believed. Now let's get into what this breakdown looks like, because this is pretty powerful, because this is really going to show you when you have circumstances what to focus on. So it says she considered. Now this was really crazy when I looked this up, because when it says she considered, that's Greek number 2233. Again, double digits if you guys are into those numbers. It says middle voice of a presumed strengthened form of aggellō. And I'll get into that. That's the root word. It means to lead or command with official authority. Figuratively, it means to deem or consider, account, or be. It can be chief, count, esteem, governor, judge, have the rule over, suppose, or think. Now, here's what's crazy. If you say, well, someone's considering something, you're just going to assume that they're thinking about it. They're considering going to the concert. They're considering going out to dinner. They're considering where we're going to go for the movie, whatever it may be, right? But there's so many other words in here. It actually can mean command with official authority. It can mean to account. It can mean chief or a governor or a judge. It can mean judge. So the root word aggellō means properly, to lead, by implication, to bring forth or drive. She considered. It means to lead or by implication to bring forth. So when she was considering something, she was bringing that forth. Get that. I want you to get that. When she was considering something, she was bringing that forth. Now, the next word here, and it's really weird in the Greek, and sometimes they add stuff in here. So it actually says she considered the having promise. That's what it actually says in Greek. But what they'll do is they'll put in she considered the one, or she considered God, when it's not actually there, but they add that in to kind of make the context more understanding. But it says the in the original context, which means, again, it just says she considered the having promised. And that's going to be important to understand. Having promised, again, it's the epaggellomai, or whatever that word is. And it means, again, unfitting, and it means announce. and it properly means to declare a promise that is fitting. Okay? So, when I broke this scripture down, I didn't include the whole beginning point about her being barren and beyond the proper age. But what I did put in here is the end of it, which is important to understand. And it means she led with official authority and brought forth the announcement. She did it by faith. Sarah, even though she was barren and beyond the proper age, was unable to conceive a child because she considered, she brought forth. And it says him faithful who had promised, but they're inserting God in there when it's not in the original context. But because she's one, it's implied that they're one. Okay? So she considered him, the spirit that's within, faithful to bring her what the promise was. She led with official authority and brought forth the announcement. Despite all of those circumstances, despite being barren, I mean, some people just are in their 30s and they just, they can't have children, or they're told they can't have children. So that's one obstacle. But she was beyond the age. She had multiple circumstances that in the natural realm were absolutely impossible. But she brought forth. She led with the official authority and brought forth the announcement. So I'm going to summarize both of these scriptures a little bit. And I put here that your announcement carries the power to manifest reality when backed by full assurance. With authoritative faith, you'll bring forth the divine promises into existence. Those promises are all of your desires. You completely have the ability, when you decide and declare something, that it's going to be brought forth. And I put here that assurance, because remember, it says the announcement carries the power. When you're deciding and you're declaring something, that alone carries the power to manifest that reality when it's backed by full assurance. You're not just going to say, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire. You have to have some sort of assurance. You're backing that. And because you understand that you're one with God, and that's the power and the wisdom that's within you, that you're combining that with. Your announcement carries the power to manifest reality when backed by full assurance. And when you have that authoritative faith, when you have that declaration with authority, you're going to bring forth the divine promises into existence. Now remember, this is off track, but Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things expected and the evidence of things not seen. So what this is saying is that you're going to bring forth those divine promises into existence. Now they already exist. Okay? Everything exists. Remember, you are the all. So everything already exists within the spiritual realm. The car, the house, the SP, the wonderful relationship, that perfect job, the perfect health, all of that exists in the spiritual realm. Okay? And the difference is that you may not see it physically, but once you see it on the inside and you're fully persuaded and you call forth, when you lead with that official authority, you're going to bring forth that announcement, that reality, that desire is going to come from the unseen where it currently is, and you're going to be able to see it as evidence of what you believe it within. I'm going to say that again. You will bring from the unseen into the seen based on what you say. Your expectations, you're going to bring them from one existence into the other based on who you're being on the inside. So when you know that you're the millionaire, that will take root, and that will bring that from the unseen to the seen. So what I have here is that assurance that you have it, that it's there in the unseen, that you are going to bring it from the unseen to the seen. That assurance comes from a combination of trusting those powerful and fitting promises, or the desires that they're actually there, come from God, while having an inner conviction that the desire is real and already yours by choosing to accept that reality. When you choose to accept that truth, that SP, that job, that money, that home is in the unseen and it's already yours, right? And you choose to accept that as true. It comes from the unseen to the seen. It's based on you choosing to accept it as true. But it's easily done when you lead with the official authority and you bring it forth based on the announcement. Now, what I want to finish with here, your deepest desires are divine promises. Those desires that you have that come up are not just you conjuring up some wild fantasy. Those desires come up from within you because that's where God is. God is bringing that to your awareness and saying, hey, would you like this? I'd like to experience it. So your deepest desires are divine promises with real substance and power. They're not just wishes. It's backed by biblical faith and as seen in the Greek roots. Now remember, I gave you the Greek roots here from Romans 4:21 and Hebrews 11:11. These are God's announcements, are creative forces capable of manifesting reality. So these desires, when you decide and you announce them, they have creative forces that are capable of manifesting in your reality. So what I have here is to embrace this truth with full assurance. Stand firm in your conviction and lead with authoritative faith to bring the impossible into being. So when you stand in that knowing that I know that's in the unseen and it belongs to me, and now that I know that I have it, I can trust that it's going to be mine. And you'll see that come from the unseen to the seen. You just have to have that trust and knowing. You don't need to do anything. There's nothing for you to do. There's nothing for you to get. There's nothing for you to heal. You just need to get rid of who you are not. Remember that. Have that fully persuaded knowing, and you'll go from doubt to manifesting the impossible.